Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Random Robot Does Something Random. Today I'm making a Cat5e patch cord using RJ45 connectors. So some of the tools you're going to need, you're actually going to need a special crimping tool designed for RJ45 connectors, a pair of wire cutters, a knife, some of the RJ45 connectors, and some Cat5e cable. So the first step is to remove the outer jacket, and about 2 inches worth will be sufficient. Being careful not to score the actual conductors inside. So we'll take off the jacket itself and we'll just remove the strength member by cutting it off. So we're just going to take some time here and we're going to untwist all of these wires back to the jacket. And when we're doing this, we're going to try to keep the wires as straight as possible, removing any of the little kinks in them. So we're just going to use the RJ45 connector with the tab pointing down from us, and this would be pin number 1. Now we're going to be wiring this one up as a 568A connection. So in this case here, pin 1 will be on my left and pin 8 will be on my right. So the color code for this is the pin 1 will be the green and white striped wire. Pin 2 would be the green wire. Pin 3 is the orange and white wire. Pin 4 is the blue wire. Pin 5 is the blue and white wire. Pin 6 is the orange wire. 7 is the white-brown. And 8 is the brown wire. Now it's important to get these as straight as possible and in the correct order and flat. I will show you actually a image of the color code there later on in the video. So this is the most important part of the process, having all these wires in order and as flat and straight as possible. So with all the wires in the correct order, and here's an image of the pin and wire colors, we're going to pull those as straight as possible, and we're going to use the RJ45 connector itself to make a measurement to decide where we're going to cut it. Again, an approximation of where you want to cut it. We're going to use my fingers to pinch it as flat as possible. And once I get that as flat as possible, I'm going to cut the wires flush. So I had to rearrange some of the wires. They weren't as flat as I'd like them to be. And I'll double check to make sure my color code is correct and the distance I want to cut them. And I want to cut them perpendicular, so as straight as possible. And now we're going to insert it with the tab facing down. And we're going to slide them into the slots and we'll just wiggle them in. And we're going to push them all the way to the end. Now, you won't be able to see it here on the camera, but you can actually see the wires coming to the end. They also make a different form of RJ45 connectors that can push the wires right through the end. I couldn't find any, so I have to make sure these are all the way pushed to the end before putting it into the crimping tool. And that would complete one end of the patch cable in the A configuration. Now we'll do the same thing to the other end of the cable. Again, we're going to be using the A configuration for that. So again, we'll place these in order. So green, white, green, orange, white, blue, blue, white, orange, brown, white, and brown. So getting the wires twisted and as flat as possible, cutting it flush and sliding the connector on. Now we're just going to test this connector to see if our connections are correct. This doesn't register decibel losses. It's only going to register whether or not the wires are in the correct order. And we got them all flashing green, which means they are good to go. So now we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to use the 568B configuration. And it doesn't really matter if you use A or B, as long as both ends of the cable are the same. They'll have to be both A's or both B's. So again, I'm just straightening out the conductors as much as possible. And the only color difference between the B formation and the A is they swap the orange wires with the green wires. So we'll have orange, white, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, and brown. So as you can see here, the B configuration, it starts with the orange, white, orange, green, white, as opposed to the A configuration. Again, we're going to get it as flat as possible. And we're taking out any twists there so the wires can stay flat. And we'll cut them off to the right length as flush as possible. So it wasn't quite as straight as possible, so I had to retrim the wire. And I'm just going to wiggle that in, and I'm going to use a magnifying glass to check to see if they're end. And once they're confirmed the wires are all at the end and in the correct order, I'll crimp them. And I'll do the same with the other end of the wire. So here is another image of the 568B configuration with all the wire colors and pin numbers. Again, both ends of this patch cable have to be both B. And once I confirm the right order and the length I wish to cut them, I'll snip them off and install the other end. So now I'm just going to test this patch cable that I have a B configuration on both ends and see if it works. So I'm just going to plug each end into the testing device and we'll see if we get all green. There we go, all green, everything is good. Again, thanks again for watching The Random Robot. Please like and subscribe.